Okay, today in this video, what I want to do is I want to address three major training points that seem to come up very often. The first thing that we want to talk about is we're going to talk about how to operate the battery-powered Terminator correctly. So if you have a T3000ei, or you have a T2100ei, or if you have our smaller XME Terminator, or the machine that we manufacture now, the T3000ei, this way of operating all those machines, it applies to all of those machines. Any machine that basically has the foot throttle, we're going to talk about. The second thing we're going to talk about in this video is how to install the tooling correctly, because you can install that tooling incorrectly and do damage to your pins. So I wanted to show you how to do that. And then last, if you're a machine owner that has wet cell batteries, so if you have to go in and check the levels of your batteries and you have to add water or electrolyte to them, I'm going to address how to do that properly. And there's also a proper or a necessary charging regimen that we need to do. So let's first, though, talk about how to operate the EI correctly. What guys will oftentimes do is they'll go ahead and get on the machine, and then they'll energize the machine, and then you would think, well, the thing to do now is give it gas, and now let's go. It seems like the right way to do it, but it's the exact wrong way to do that. Here's the correct way to operate the machine. What you want to think about is, with the valves in the center and the neutral position, the valves are closed. If you give it a lot of gas, and then you slowly open those valves, what you're doing is slowly opening them and then forcing that hydraulic fluid through a very small opening. In the laws of physics and thermodynamics and all that kind of stuff, that's how you heat up your hydraulic fluid. And oftentimes guys will say, well, my oil temperature light's coming on. That's because you're operating it that way. From a closed position, giving it a lot of throttle, and then slowly opening it. That's the incorrect way to do it. It also makes for a very jerky machine. It's not very smooth running. Here's the correct way to do it. What you want to do is go ahead and energize the machine, and before you give it any foot throttle at all, you want to completely open your valves. So if you're going to go forward, push your valves all the way forward. Now your valves are completely open, so that when you give it throttle, it's going to flow very freely through there and keep your hydraulic fluid nice and cool. And so what you want to do then is you move it forward, and then with your foot throttle, you go the speed that you want to go, as fast as you want to go or as slow as you want to go. And then you let up on the left side to go left, you let up on the right side to go right. It becomes a very smooth operating machine when you do it that way. So that's the correct way to operate the different Terminators that have the foot throttle. So now I'm going to jump off. I want to show you how to actually install the tooling correctly on the machine. Okay, the second part now, I want to show you how to install the tooling incorrectly and then how to install it correctly. What guys will do is, you'll notice you got the pin, that you pull this pin out, and then let me lower that down just a little bit. And you'll notice that there are two holes in the receiver, and all of our tooling as well has two holes in them. And so what guys will do is they'll go ahead and put the tooling in, and they'll run that in there, and they'll get it to there, and they'll go ahead and put the tooling in, and the pin in. There it goes. Okay, so they'll put the tooling in, like the pin in like that, and they'll think that that's all right. And it will work that way, but the problem is, if you think about it, when you're removing ceramic tile or hardwood floors, whatever it is, all that pressure is being put right on that little hollow pin. And that will tear that pin up very, very quickly. And so what you want to do to install the tooling correctly is you want to always shove it completely home, so these two surfaces meet. That way, when you're removing material, now all the pressure of that removal is going to be right there where nothing's to wear out. It's nice and solid. So why do we then have two pins? The reason we have two pins is so that the front pin, if you put it in the front, that's called our hard mount. It doesn't want to move on you at all. So if you're removing ceramic tile or hardwood floors, you're using very small bits, you want it in the hard mount position. Conversely, in the rear, you'll notice that that rear hole has a little bit of a, it's oblonged. So now that allows that tooling to articulate a little bit. Why that's nice is because when you're removing carpet or VCT, sheet vinyl, rubber flooring, LVP, those kinds of products, you want to be able to flex a little bit, because if you happen to run over debris with your back tire, it's not going to want to lift your blade out of the removal trench. It's going to stay nice and level. So that's the reason for having that articulating point. Okay? So always remember, the real key, the point I'm trying to really drive home, is when you're installing it, you always shove it completely in and then go ahead and put the pin in place. Okay, so I wanted to take a few minutes lastly and talk about wet cell batteries and the maintenance as well as the charging regimen. So if you've got AGM batteries like a lot of the new machines are, you could probably just quit watching, it won't apply. But if you do have wet cell batteries, it's very critical that you keep your electrolytes or your water levels at the right point. And so you literally just can easily pop these caps. You look down inside, and with a flashlight, you'll see the plates in there. And what you want to do is you want to have the water level a 1/4 of an inch above those plates. And you don't want it much higher than that either, and you definitely don't want it any lower. You expose those plates and you start damaging your batteries. So how do you get the levels all consistent? You can go to the internet, you can buy a system you hook all up, and it will keep all your levels correct. Or what I like to do, it's a very inexpensive thing to do, is I like to look at one of my cells, and I like to look in there and, okay, I got it just perfect. It's a 1/4 of an inch above the plate, just like I like. And then I'll take a dedicated funnel, and I'll take that funnel and I will simply stick it inside like that. And then when I pull that funnel out, I look at where the water line is on the funnel, and I cut it off right at that water line. Then it's as simple as going to each cell afterwards. Just put it inside that cell, take a flashlight, shine down in there, and then pour water in. Once it gets to the very bottom of your funnel, you know that it's at exactly the right spot. Just a little trick that you can do to keep those to keep the right amount of electrolyte or water inside of these batteries. And you don't want more than that 1/4 of an inch. The reason you don't want that is because you'll start bubbling acid out all over your batteries. Your batteries will become all contaminated, it'll leak in between, cause all kinds of problems. So you don't want to do that. It's important not to overfill these batteries. Now, as far as charging goes, the machine comes with 2 chargers, right? You got your 110 charger, and then you got your 220 charger. And here's the important thing that you must do, is you must equalize these batteries. And basically, equalization is the batteries become sulfated. They get a skin of sulfate on those plates, and you need to shock that sulfate off. Also, the batteries, they start to separate. The acid and the electrolytes separate. Electrolytes go to the bottom, they build up under there, and they start damaging your plates. And so it's important to keep that mixture all mixed up and cleaned so that the very expensive batteries get as long a life as you can get out of them and as long a run time as you can get as well. So how do we equalize? Well, we have over the years we've had a number of different types of chargers, and so I'm gonna reposition our camera there and look at some chargers that from kind of the old days, and then the chargers that we sell now, just to give you an idea how you equalize the batteries. Here's a point though, before I go over those, I forgot to mention, is when do you equalize? Here's the rule of thumb, is you charge this machine 5 times with either a 110 charger or 220 charger, it doesn't matter, but you charge it 5 times, and on the 6th charge, you want to be sure and equalize. That's when you equalize, is on the 6th charge. Now the reality is, if you're on a job site and you go 8 or 10 charges without equalizing, it's not the end of the world. You're not really going to hurt anything, but you don't want to make a habit of it. So you just want to have it in your mind that, hey, I got to equalize this machine every 5th charge. And so that's kind of the rule of thumb. So let's go ahead and look at the chargers themselves, and I'll show you how to set them to equalize. Okay guys, so here's some of our chargers that we've had, chargers in the past, and this is actually the charger that you get now with a new machine with wet cell batteries. In the past, it was as simple as you had an equalize button right there. You would just push that equalize button, and then the machine would automatically go ahead and equalize your battery pack. Today we sell this charger, and it has an on-off button, and it does not have an equalize button on it. So what you would do is you would plug it in, you'd turn it on, you'd go through your cycle, and then at the end of the cycle you would turn it off, and then you would turn it back on again. And that way it gives that, that controlled overcharge that you do occasionally to be able to equalize the battery pack. It's as simple as that. Turn it off, turn it on, charge, turn it off, flip it back on, and you're ready to go. The older style, just push the equalize button and the machine will equalize. This is the 110 charger, by the way, that it's got an amps and volts switch. It only tells you amps and volts. It's still charging whether it's on that switch side or that side. So that's very simple. When you have a solid green light, then you know that the machine is ready to go. Okay? Okay guys, so those were the points that I wanted to bring out and make sure that we were clear on. The first thing being how we control the machine. Remember, it's full valves open and then slowly close them is how you use the valves, giving the foot throttle just enough throttle to go the speed that you want to go. Tooling, always remember to insert it all the way in and then put the pin in. That way you don't tear that little pin up. And then with wet cell batteries, making sure that we always do our charging regimen to make those batteries last as long as possible.